Oh, maybe now I do.
Yes, yeah, I can hear you now. Yay.
Oh, God. Okay, finally. I am so happy.
Yay. How are you doing? Are you okay today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just,
Yeah.
oh God, I had such a long day at work, so I'm just
Yeah.
like super happy just to kind of switch off. Um,
Yeah.
but oh, by the way, just wanted to check with you if it's okay that this is being recorded.
That's okay. That's okay. I do this on my own calls too. You have to record everything in case you forget anything. I understand. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh my God. And you look, I mean, I must say, you look super fresh and
Oh, thank you. I mean, I just woke up. Maybe that's I still have sleep in my eyes, but we go. Yeah.
oh. But oh my God, let's give this a go. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you
I
so
mean, I
much.
just kind of wanted to let you know a little bit more about the project that I'm doing at the moment. So
Yeah.
I pretty much literally just moved into Hong Kong, so I feel like we
Yeah.
kind of swapped in a way.
That's true. Yeah, you said you were from the UK, no? So that makes sense. We've literally swapped like quite recently.
Yeah, a little bit. So I'm not originally from UK. I'm originally from Czech Republic, but I lived in
Yeah.
UK for about 4 years. But yeah, mentally, I'm definitely there.
Okay.
Yeah, I started doing this project in Hong Kong because I felt like we need to bring the female artists a little
Mm.
bit more into a spotlight and
Yeah.
just kind of get the emotion going, I guess, a
Yeah.
little bit. I know that people right now, they have completely different worries because obviously
Yeah.
like you heard, like the restrictions got much more tight.
Yeah.
So when, you know, everyone will be able to go to
Mm-hmm.
any galleries or to see any exhibitions,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of hoping to bring all of the creative minds, especially when it comes to women, you know,
Yeah.
together and
Yeah.
kind of do this kind of beautiful network where people can
Yeah.
exchange ideas and stuff.
Mm.
So this is where you came into my suggestions.
Ah, wait, I was suggested to you, or I actually don't understand how you found me.
Yeah, I believe in destiny.
Okay. Was there anything in particular that caught your eye? Because I find that quite interesting that you would ask me, because I feel like I'm not really well established at all. So that I found that like quite interesting.
Do not question this.
Yeah.
I think it was a very instant kind of like a gut feeling. So it's one of my New Year's resolutions to kind of follow my gut feeling a little bit more.
Yeah.
And also your Instagram feed, I actually got really hooked on your aesthetics the most.
Oh.
And the photography that you do and just basically like your point of view. So yeah, I was just super curious, like if we can talk about this really. And
Okay.
as well.
This feels so weird because I'm like a blog writer for this Luna Collective, their magazine. I do a bunch of stuff like this where I interview artists. So I'm always on your side. So like I'm kind of scared because I might say something stupid. It's always easier to ask questions than to answer questions, I feel, you know?
I'll make sure that I will send you everything that you need just to edit whatever you need to edit. I want to make sure that it's a super friendly chat, nothing sterilized, just very chilled. So, but I'm so glad. What a unique opportunity for you to be like on the different sides. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I'm super glad that we're doing this. So tell me a little bit more about this blog.
Yeah, so this blog they do a lot of film photography as well as like musicians and everything. So they kind of do it as like a feature as well. So it's like an online magazine, so they're all digitalized. They do have some copies which you can buy, but it's more of just highlighting artists around the world, basically. So film photographers, musicians, upcoming ones, and just kind of like interviewing them and seeing what they're up to, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, cool. Which one was the last one that you interviewed?
So the last one I did was on a photographer. He was actually amazing. He does like film and digital photography, but mostly he's like going into film photography, and he had like amazing aesthetics and like colors. And I recently did like an interview yesterday. It was with a musician. Her name was like Lani. It was just so fun to talk to her. She was such an open person with her vulnerability, and it made me so excited to do like what I do. It's quite exciting.
Ah, interesting. So how would you define vulnerability when you heard her talk? Like, what
What
do
do
you
you,
think of
so
vulnerable?
what, sorry, I couldn't hear the first part of the question.
No, sorry. I was just wondering, like, what
Mm,
when you heard her talk, like,
mm,
what vulnerability to
mm.
you? Like, what does it mean?
Ah.
What makes you think of that? Oh, she's vulnerable.
Oh, okay. So I just felt that she was so, it was almost like she got so much time and distance from her pain that she said everything she wanted to in a matter of fact way, but still keeping the emotions. I think that's quite important for people because when you're really close to the traumatic experiences you might have been having, sometimes you can't explain it without stumbling on your words. So I thought she got a lot of space and her vulnerability was almost not I don't want to say polished, but it was in a way where it didn't feel weighed down or anything. Like it almost felt like it was liberating her. Like her vulnerability was liberating her, and it was in a way kind of like manifesting her music next, you know? It was helping her create art. And I thought that was beautiful. Like she went through the whole process and got to this like wonderful place where she can create art out of that, which was it was so wonderful to just see her whole progress.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Well, we're starting very deep.
Well, that's just who I am. I kind of just always jump in. It's always fun.
Oh, this is perfect. I absolutely love that actually. So speaking of vulnerability, do you think that so you're originally from Hong Kong?
Yes. So I'm Nepalese. Both my parents are Nepalese.
Mhm.
I was born in Hong Kong, but there were some like things. I moved back to Nepal and then I came back here, came back to Hong Kong when I was like 10 years old, and I lived there basically my whole adolescent life, the most confusing bit of my life. And then I feel like I moved to the UK exactly when I had to take care of myself and become an adult, which was it's been really interesting because I feel like I've in my head to organize it all, I've kind of put it into segments, and Hong Kong is like my place of growth and like actually becoming a human being, which is
Wow.
it's very like that's when I formed myself, and I feel like here is where I've kind of figured what it means to live, which is another
Mhm.
interesting thing.
That sounds like a very intense shift though,
Yeah.
especially
Mm.
coming from Nepal
Yeah.
that I had a privilege to
Mm.
having been to Nepal.
Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah.
It's I don't feel like it counts as like knowing the
Yeah.
culture.
Mm.
It kind of gives you the hints, and I
Yeah.
honestly can't
Mm.
wait to go back.
Yeah.
Uh, but I can imagine like coming from Nepal to Hong Kong, that
Yeah.
must be quite difficult.
Yeah, I was kind of lucky because I moved when I was quite young. So
Mm.
in my formative years, I was a quiet kid. So I started to open up when I became a little bit older, and that's when I think about the influences of Hong Kong kind of like shaped me. That's so it wasn't as difficult because I had gotten used to it. I'd gotten used to moving quite a bit because even in my younger years when I was moving from Hong Kong to Nepal to Hong Kong to Nepal, that happened quite a bit. So I had gotten used to like constantly moving and constantly adapting, which
Mm.
it didn't feel like too much of a big change. For me, it's weird where and when there is a big change, I almost kind of zone out and I just do what I need to do.
Wow. So almost like you dissociate
Yeah, a
yourself.
little bit. That I
Mm.
realized that finally when I moved to the UK to study here, because the whole process of moving here, I didn't even process it. I didn't process the entire thing
Wow.
until I was like, okay, I'm here now.
When do you think was the moment that, when it just kind of like hit you? When
When
do you
I
think you were like, oh my God, I'm here?
when I went to the apartment that I was living in here, I looked
Oh.
outside my window and I was like, okay, this I was alone in the apartment as well, and like for the first time I realized this is home for a little bit. We're gonna be here for a little bit. But I think it's also overrated to have big moments be actualized in big ways. I think you can
Mm.
just actualize it in like smaller ways where you're just accepting it,
Mm.
moving. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I think the acceptance, like people, need to chase by
Yeah.
themselves. Not everyone actually is able to do it after, even when they hit their 50 years, 60 years, they just don't really get there, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so during that journey, when do you think that it was the point when you started to, get interested in art and that you wanted to express yourself?
So I think, like I said before, I think I kind of always had a problem with expressions. I was such a quiet and shy kid. I didn't really feel that, oh, this is gonna get really dark, but I didn't feel that people wanted to hear what I had to say a lot of the times. So I think art was like a way for me to express myself in a way of distance. I felt that, and I think you can kind of tell by the things that I'm interested in. I like things that are distant but close and intimate. And like I'm kind of clicking this as I speak to you. It just for me, I think it's always been there, but I fully started to do this when I had to do fine art for my A levels. I chose to do A levels and not GCSEs. I like jumped and then did A levels in art, which was like a big change because I thought I was gonna go into sciences. Like I know it seems like quite small now, but at that point in my life, it was such a big deal. I was like, I'm changing the course of my life here. But I went and did A level art, and even before that, I was doing photography in my own time because I wanted to pursue something artistic. But when I did A-level art, I think that's when it all kind of came together. Like I started doing fine art painting and like did photography on the side. It was just so much fun, you know?
Yeah. I wonder what made you kind of like blend in both of these kind of like can you say like modules like photography and fine arts?
Yeah, so fine art I did more like, I mean, I can't even say it was a school subject because I literally engrossed myself into it so much. That's probably my most peaceful time in my life. That sounds so contradictory because A levels is so insane, but it was like a peaceful time for me because I was just doing what I loved. But the way that I mixed it, because you always need like a raw file of inspirations. Like you always need something to take images from, and that's where photography kind of came from me. It was like a form of reference. It was like a reference thing, so I could like go on and make more things. Sometimes it wasn't like the final product, sometimes it was the final product, but it all kind of depended.
Oh, I see. Huh, very interesting. And so that brings me into kind of, do you remember the first time when you kind of like picked up the camera and you had the idea actually of picking up the camera and maybe trying to snap something?
Oh, okay. So with that, I remember begging my parents for a camera for like months on end. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, there was a camera and I went and picked it up. It was like I was experimenting with my own phone. I was doing things with like basically like my smartphone. And then I was like, okay, I love this. I like aesthetics. I like compositions. I went through that and I was like, I'd like to do this. And I think I also had like a film camera, like a really, really cheap film camera, like 10 Hong Kong dollars. Like I went with a friend and I found it in this like weird dodgy market and it worked. And I just kept using that, which is it was so good. Cool. Sorry?
It's so cool.
She was amazing. She was like my guide to film photography. She took me to this market and she was like, here, try this. This seems like it would work. And it did. And it was quite cool. But going back to the camera thing, I like forced my parents to buy it basically. I was like, my birthday's coming up. Please buy this for me. I'll take this super seriously. And that's that's kind of how it went with the camera.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool because when I had a chance to meet like other artists as well, I know that it must be actually quite difficult to kind of prove your parents that art is the way to go. Art is eventually something that you want to do professionally and something that is gonna, make you a good money. How was it with your parents? Were they cool about your photography as well?
So the thing is, I've always been quite a serious kid. And I think my parents kind of recognize that as well. Like I would always put on more pressure on me than my parents would. Like initially it did start off with them putting on pressure on me, and then it became this like thing that I just had in my mind, and they kind of trusted me with decision making, and they trusted me with things. And I think this is the weird thing where I haven't been able to convince myself that doing art as a career is a good thing. So this is why I'm doing journalism and like media here. And it's not because I had like a hard time with this actually, because I was thinking, am I compromising my dreams to be an artist? Am I compromising? I had like this whole like dilemma with myself. And I think I've come to a point where I'm realizing creativity doesn't necessarily have to be in art itself. Like you can literally put art in everything in your life. I've come to that conclusion, and like I know I will never leave art as a whole, because I feel like it's so much in me and who I am that it won't go. But so it wasn't really difficult with my parents, because they actually saw the things I was creating, and they saw that people recognize that as well. But it's been hard to convince myself that I'm worthwhile as an artist.
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember the moment when, it was not only your parents, but other people when they kind of saw your potential there too.
Yeah. It comes as a surprise every time. I'm just like, how do you see this? I just did this for fun. Um, it's I don't think I registered each time. Every time someone, there was a teacher who bought my art when I was quite young. He bought it at this like school auction, and I didn't think anyone would want to buy anything that I create. So that was like the first time someone had bought it, and that meant quite a bit. It was only a print as well. It wasn't necessarily my artwork itself, but that kind of meant the whole world to me back then. It was like a validating, but also like assuring sort of a thing.
Do you remember what the print was?
Yeah, I do. It was one of my favorite paintings of that time. It was of me, it was of my friend who we had this whole photo shoot in like a bathtub. I forced her into the bathtub, made her do all these weird things. She was submerged in the water, and the water kind of created this like reflecting images where she was completely distorted, and I created that picture into like a painting, like acrylic. I think it was acrylic on canvas, and he took like a print of that.
Wow. Well, that's so creative. How old were you during?
Then I think that was like my second last year or last year of high school. So I would say like 17, 18, 16. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably 17, 18. Yeah.
Right. So, would you think that Hong Kong was like a place that triggered your creativity in a
Yes,
way?
I would say that. Yeah. Yes, because Hong Kong is such a place of, it's just so much going on. Like you have to pay attention. If you look anywhere and there's like a story, there's like a person doing something interesting. And I know that's a very romanticized idea of Hong Kong, because it's not always like that. And it might not be at the moment. I haven't visited in a while, but I remember there was always an interesting look. It was such a mess as well. Like not a mess, but it's such a concrete place, and so much is compact. You have to focus on beauty sometimes, as much as sometimes it's like right there and there. But I think it taught me a lot about it's a big city as well. It taught me a lot about compartmentalizing some things and making things bigger. I love Hong Kong. Yeah. That's just it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there with you, 100%.
Yeah.
You mentioned beauty in Hong Kong. How would you define Hong Kong beauty? Because I know that everyone's measurements are different. How would you define that beauty?
I think it's messy, and it's messy. It's tiring. It's beautiful, you know, it's in like a weird melancholy and tiring sort of a way. Like, of course there's a more glamorous side of Hong Kong, but I was never part of that. I was always in like the messier parts of things, and I think there's like a lot of beauty in that. And there's so much nature as well. You don't realize how much nature there is. Like, being here now in Cardiff, I feel like to go hiking I have to set a date. I used to go hiking like near my house and I used to see the sea near my house. Everything was so close by and accessible. I think its beauty is in how it doesn't really scream its beauty. I think that's where it comes. That's why it's so beautiful. Because there isn't anything like immaculate, but everything is so normal. I think the normal life is the most beautiful.
Right. Like the routine in the city as well.
Yeah. There was a time where I was obsessed with trains. I was obsessed with looking at people in the trains. Because everybody had such a long day and they would go to the train at 7 p.m. and you just see everyone all at once, like everyone's background in this one little tube, you know? And I thought it was such a good story. Like, it was just my alone thing. I would just do this, like, look around, but
yeah.
I thought,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like nowadays it's much harder since everyone's kind of staring on their phones. It's very hard to see their organic kindness and their boredom.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned the stories within Hong Kong. What do you think are, for example, the top 3 like Hong Kong stories that you would feel like you want to represent or introduce to people in UK? Because you've been there for a while a little bit and you've been studying there, so and maybe understanding the mentalities and the different kind of like culture shocks. What do you think that we should know about, you know, storytelling in Hong Kong?
Storytelling in Hong Kong. I think the top things would be like the minority groups, because I feel like they, like being a Nepalese in Hong Kong who couldn't necessarily speak Cantonese at like a level, like there was a lot of, I could speak English and I could get by with sign languages, but there was always a disconnect, and I think that's kind of why I wanted to experience life in like an English speaking country as well. Like here, I feel like there was always a disconnect between the two communities, the local communities as well as like the ethnic minority communities. And I feel like that lives in so many different countries in its own ways. So that would be one of the main topics I would like to focus on. And it's so close to my heart too. It just, like, it's hard to express because of how close it might be. You know, like you see your parents struggling to communicate, or you see yourself struggling to like adjust to things simply because you don't understand the language and the culture. I think cultural shock when it comes to that way is quite universal, and you can understand it, you know? Like, it doesn't really matter who you are, you always feel out of place sometimes. That would
and
be beautiful, but it's so painful. It's like the pain and beauty sort of a thing. Yeah,
the clash, the ultimate clash. But jumping a little bit backwards, so what made your parents to move from Nepal to Hong Kong?
So it's actually quite a simple thing. My grandfather was in the army, so that kind of led him to move around quite a bit, and that's why my mom decided to move here as well. Of course, the economy was better as well, so it was just like a logical decision to move here. Like, my grandfather had moved a lot because of the army, so my mom had access to come here. So she was like, okay, there's better money here, might as well economically go there because it's more viable.
That would make sense. So do you think that it was like generally like really hard, kind of like rooted in within your family, you know, to kind of blend in with the local culture, or was it actually like because of the Hong Kong diversity, like good for you and it was quite easy?
I honestly do think it was quite hard in the beginning. Like, I do hear stories from my mom where she does say things were quite difficult, especially talking to like governmental groups and like talking to locals. That must have been really difficult, but like now she's lived there so long, she's completely fluent in Cantonese. She can speak the language much better than I could ever even try, but I can't kind of diminish the fact that it was so hard for so many people, especially there was like the age in the 90s where everyone was coming in, and then obviously there was a group of their own, but it was hard from them because it was just a group of their own. It's like a double-edged sword in a way, where you stick to your group, but you really don't cultivate any other relationships with the locals sometimes.
So true, because I was kind of like being very stubborn. Me trying to immerse myself into expat groups completely. I really wanted to get involved, with all of the locals, get to know basically the very raw, the organic, exactly the stories that you were inspired by as well. So I was wondering, where do you think that, because right now you're in Cardiff, and that must have been quite culture shock, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think I've gotten used to really adapting quickly. Like, of course, a lot of things were cultural shocks, but I'm so used to not knowing the local things that I was actually okay with it. Like, okay moving here, as much as that sounds weird. I don't know if that sounds weird actually, because my friends, like my local friends, will just tell me, you don't know this movie, or like you don't know this things. They'd be like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm like, I don't know that movie. They'd be like, why, you've never watched it? It's a classic. And I've just gotten used to it, where I'm just like, okay, yeah, I haven't watched it, I'll watch it someday. You will know. You'll hear a review. It's definitely a cultural shock, but I'm so immune to it now. Like, I don't mind if people think I don't belong anywhere.
No, not. And I absolutely know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I remember when I moved to UK and everyone was like, oh, you don't know this comedian? Like, no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just
not this candy or sweets. No.
They do that. It's like, I know it's commonplace, but you have to realize that I'm not commonplace. Like, I'm not from here. I don't know what mom's candy is. I don't know it. Tell me about it though. I'll listen. Yeah.
That's really very kind of you, of being so open-minded and happy to learn. So just to kind of like, it gave me this idea to flip the page. What do you think that people in UK should learn from the Hong Kong mindset, and especially like coming back to the artistic and the creative side of it? What do you think that UK can kind of extract from the environment that you came from?
Okay. I think the hustle culture in Asia in general, and in Hong Kong specifically, because that's all I mostly know, I think the hustle culture is really lacking in the European countries and in the UK specifically. So I would say we could learn a lot from how hardworking people are. Not to say that people aren't hardworking here, but I think there's a lot to learn about pacing and communications that can happen quicker. Because here I talked to some NHS governments, and I'm just like, it's taking me 3 days to get to you, and it's just, that's quite a different culture to live in. Because in Hong Kong, you would go to the hospital immediately, and in like a few hours, you have to wait, of course, but in a few hours you would be served, So that, and artistically, I think what they could get more of is getting representation. I think Hong Kong has kind of gotten to a point where they do feel that, yes, there is minority group and there's massive minority groups, and they need to be represented as well. And because it's so small and jam-packed, you kind of have to listen to the other person, but here you can almost avoid it. You can avoid the other group. And I think maybe that could be more highlighted here as well. Because I think a lot of grassroots groups are trying really hard, but bigger galleries and bigger exhibitions could, get more like artists that are just upcoming, smaller artists and things like that. And that could go in everywhere, but I just think as a whole, as like us, like artist community, you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. So what do you think, where, coming back to your work, and exactly what you just said about, being represented and making sure that everyone is being involved, especially not only visually, but like in the debate and in the conversation, not only when it comes to diversity, but also just kind of learning new things and being adaptable as you had to be, just moving from place to place. Coming back to your work, do you think like, is there something that, UK kind of triggered this idea of the lack of, the gap that you mentioned, that you want to represent or maybe show for your work?
I think the next few things I want to do is kind of just try my hardest to make it here. Just I don't know what that really means as an artist for me yet, but anything that I feel is lacking, I would like to kind of get through with. And I don't really know what you mean by your question, actually. So you want me to express things that I think is lacking, but I could improve with my art?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's kind of basically it. I want more representation, but I also want representation for communities that are not easily accessible for the media. I think anyone or any story that, you could focus on. And I know I always come from like a place of looking at art. Like I know I could be looking at more political things, but I just don't think that's where my heart is. And so no matter what I do, because at the moment I think I might go into like marketing, or I might go into multimedia journalism. I'm not really sure. I'm in my third year of uni, but I'm not sure where exactly this is going. But like no matter what happens, I think that's the only thing I want to take on forward, just to represent stories and represent people that I feel very close to. It's like it's only one part of thing that I'm focusing on, but I think if everyone just focuses on one thing that they care about is enough,
For sure. Yeah, that's so true. Can you think of an example, please?
Yeah, an example. So I wanted to do a podcast. I even pitched this to this local group. They're called Jukebox Collective. They're like a Welsh written artist thing. They're collective, so they do like a bunch of agencies and they focus on lots of musicians and artists and poets and writers. I pitched this idea to make a podcast, kind of, because they also work with a lot of minority groups here in Wales. I thought they could do a podcast kind of where they talk to these people, get their stories out. I think that would be a really cool way to get things moving for the community, because everything is pretty much digitized and we need to kind of, because a lot of it is not necessarily money held, it's more like the work that needs to put in. And they kind of said that to me too. They were like, I don't know if we have the capacity to make this happen because we don't have enough people. And I was like, you can do this very easily. You just need to have an interview and you just need to edit this. And I just feel like it's doable if we can just get more people's stories out. So that's like the next thing I'm trying to make happen, but we'll see how that goes through. Because I think it'd be really cool to just ask meaningful questions to artists and get their experience on it, because that not only gets their story out, it almost inspires like the younger generations to go forward and do what they're doing. Because I don't think I personally had that. Like it'd be so cool if we had more people who looked or felt like me to talk about things that I want to do in the future. Like it'd be amazing, because that would allow me to feel that as an artist, maybe I could do this.
For sure. And especially when you see it, you can believe in it. Or when you hear it, you can believe in it.
Yeah, you truly just need a few people to succeed. Like, so the others can follow through. Yeah.
That's so true though. So what do you think that you would like as a perfect achievement? What do you think that you would want to show by this podcast? What do you want to present as a result of it?
I just want to, because they already have a group of collectives that they work with. I would just like to grow that collective more, you know, and create something for everybody. So it's not necessarily like a group bound thing, but it will reach an audience that is more than just like Welsh driven, or of course that should be the aim because that's what the collective is doing, but I feel like there's a massive reach for that, and you could truly reach so many artists from all around the world. And because everyone has the same issues, like every artist is having the same self-doubt, everyone's literally thinking, is my art worth it? Am I going to make it? Oh my god, what am I going to do about money? How am I going to explain this to the world? You know, that's the same questions that everyone asks. So if we could ask it in a way where we can, you know, try and answer it, it'd be quite cool.
Yeah, that's so true, 100%. What was your last time when you felt that self-doubt, and why?
I feel that every day. I felt that like literally before I called you. I was like, why I'm not deserving of this call. Immediately.
No, I'm not deserving to be actually listening to you, so don't.
I was gonna ask you why me, like immediately when we started calling. But I was like, you know what, hold that back. We'll ask in towards the end.
Wait for the cherries on the top.
Exactly.
Exclusive content at the end.
Exactly. I'll leave it. It will be a hint towards the end.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I love that so much. So at the moment, you basically completely on the other side of the world, and with the current situation of Israel, like when it comes to politics or COVID, I don't want to go that deep, but with all chaos basically happening, where do you think that you're picking up the hope for inspiration?
Inspiration. I think inspiration does come from my friends. Like a few months ago, actually, I asked my friend to give me. She's a writer. She all our lives she's been like the more word savvy. So I asked her to give me like a bunch of like what's it called, like prompts. Yeah, I asked her to give me like 12 prompts. I was like, go ham, think of like a phrase you like and just give it to me. And I think inspiration comes from collaboration. That's like the simple answer. I know I went like the whole route of friends story, but
I love that. Yeah.
You can't do a lot of things on your own. You really do need to like ask for help, seek help, and give help to make something beautiful. So I think it was quite cool because I still haven't gone around and done what she's given me, but she's given me like this amazing list of prompts, and the next thing is just kind of create, you know, my own take to them.
Oh, so how did that take looked like? Was it for your photography?
Yeah, so I wanted to create like a photography series on this actually. It was quite a simple prompt. So she sent me, I actually have them here. It was like things like hideaway shots or in your head. And I need to create like a storyline amongst that and make something visual out of it. Because it could be anything. I just told her to give me like some words. And
so cool though. Can I see it? Do you have it somewhere?
yeah, I do mean the words, my planning, because I only have the planning done at the moment.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if we can say just like a few examples that she gave you.
Okay, so it's like some of the words, some of the topics are autumn leaving, like Leaving. I thought that was so clever. She's such a smart person. And then we had dairy products, which is so weird but incredible. Growth spurts, flying to yourself, and enlarged people.
Oh wow.
It's cool. I'm gonna try and create something that isn't what it sounds like. That's my plan. So go against what it sounds like. related to it, because I think that'd be quite interesting.
It sounds very interesting. So are you going to tackle it again by photography, or?
I think so, because I wanted to get like a series done before I graduated, and I graduate soon, so I need to get to do it too soon. Just recently I've been doing so many internships and mentorship to kind of build a skill set around other things as well, because so that has been taking a lot of my time, lots of research and lots of other things, but I need to figure out a time for myself where I can be creative.
For sure, yeah. That's why I was so happy to kind of chase you down and be like, okay, we need to schedule this.
Yeah.
Week before, I was like, oh my God, like, oh, I was too quick. And I didn't realize, so yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that, by the way. I genuinely thought it was the 10th of Feb. I wrote it on my calendar and everything. I was like, okay, 10th of Feb.
Into my diary. I was just way too excited. Like that's honestly it.
I should have definitely asked you the date. I'll be sure to do that. Yeah, next time.
Don't worry. We're good. We're here.
Yeah.
So speaking of a current moment and just kind of like at the now like present.
Yeah.
What does it take you to get creative in one particular moment?
What does it take me to get creative? I think space and time, because sometimes I feel so overwhelmed. I just want to go into bed. So giving myself space to do nothing, like actually doing nothing, makes me realize I want to do art. Because I can busy myself quite easily, and I want to do so many things that it almost stops me from doing the things that matter. So when I really quiet myself and do nothing for a day, I instantly realize that, oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm here.
Okay. Are you okay? Everything's good?
We're good.
Okay, good.
Oh my God. Okay, great. We're fine.
Yeah, but that's about the answer of it. Just to let my brain and myself breathe, and then I come back to trying to make something out of creativity. I just go back there.
No, I think that's very lovely though. Like, and not everyone is actually capable of even being able to, realize and be able to be so conscious of like what works for them, right? But I was wondering, looking at your content and you're looking at your beautiful pictures, what do you think that, one sees without knowing you, or not knowing your content, or not knowing what you want to say? What do you want them to feel?
What do I want them to feel? That's an amazing question. What do I want people to feel when they see? I think I was the happiest as an artist when I was noticing little things in life. And I kind of want that. I kind of want people to feel that as well, that they're looking into something that's completely normal. It's completely normal. Nothing's extravagant here, but that's like the point of it all. It's just life. I think I would want that. I'm not sure I have achieved that yet, but I just want to focus on the daily life as an artist. Like, I don't want to look at something. I want to look at something beautiful, but I don't want it to be extravagant.
Interesting. Do you know why is that?
Beautiful, not extravagant, because I just feel like it's really easy to look at extravagant and chase extravagance, like to chase something shiny. Yeah, but I don't know, I feel like these days I just want to focus on something simple and live my day-to-day life and enjoy the normal simple things, because you really lose it when you're busy. When you're busy, you're working, you're doing this, that, and this, you kind of forget to look around. And I feel like I am actually in that rut right now, where I forget to just look at the sky or look at some trees that are shedding some leaf, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to focus on as an artist, I think. Just some things that I find beautiful. Maybe not everyone does, but just smaller things in life.
So what does it take you to kind of like stop in that moment and be aware? What do you need to do that?
Yeah, I think I need to be more self-aware. I feel, and that comes and goes sometimes, where sometimes I'm more aware of my surroundings, but like going back to the other point, the space and time, I think that's what it takes. Like, I know that is my anecdote, but sometimes I can't give myself that, just space and time to just walk around the park, or because that's when I feel free is when I feel most me. And it just would be nice to not be bogged down to responsibilities.
Tell me about it.
It would be so nice. Yeah. And then we could live a life. But that's not a way to live. Because if we just continued and thought about, oh, when will I be free? We'll never be free.
That's so true. It's our mindset.
Things.
So going a little bit forward, because you mentioned that you're at your final year of uni, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be your final work, your collaboration with your friend?
Yeah, that is more like my personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean, like it wouldn't. My final work is very like. What do you mean by final work?
Well, I mean, at the end of university, I guess. How is it going to work with your university? Are you gonna?
Okay, I see what you mean. With my university, it's a lot more academic. It's like an academic course, and I'm mostly focusing on like journalism and media. So it would be more essays and things. I wanted to like actually go into film or fine art, but I chose this route because I thought if I ever wanted to fully go into film and art, I could do it on my own. Not on my own, but you know what I mean. I didn't feel like I wanted to spend my parents' like millions and millions of dollars, and go into uni and not learn something academic. So that's why I chose this route. So my final product would actually be a dissertation. So it's like a researched model. It wouldn't be like an artistic explanation. So that's kind of why I'm doing all these things on the side. And sometimes, sometimes that's why sometimes I don't create things, or it's slower process.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you are planning to combine it at all, or just to do kind of like a blend. But coming to your dissertation, do you know what you want to write about?
Yeah, I'm actually writing about minority groups actually. Yeah, I'm writing about, because I guess that's the only thing I'm interested in. It makes not only thing, but I just felt that for a whole year that would be the one topic I would like to focus on. So I'm doing how they're represented in the digitized world. So in social medias, how they represent themselves through pictures, communications, and just everything that comes with that, with social media and stuff. So that's my dissertation. I'm going to be talking to a few publications and magazines and ask them why and how they're representing themselves that way.
Brilliant. I absolutely love that. Yeah, because I remember when I graduated from Loughborough University with media and creative industries. And I was doing, I wouldn't say like something similar, but I was writing about something that is called participatory culture.
Ooh, I love that.
Where they people learn from each other, like websites like Wikipedia, social media, how people kind of like exchange the ideas, and they create community based on each of the ideas. But yeah, it's very interesting that you are kind of focusing on the minority group, because when I moved to Hong Kong, it was actually my first time of, well, I would say maybe second time, because I went to India a couple years ago where I had this shock.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got to Nepal. Like I first went to India and then dipped my feet quickly in Nepal. Yeah, and it was pretty much like the first time when I kind of, you know, saw my ethnicity in a completely different light.
Okay.
My whole life in Europe, it was very hard for me to kind of like understand how, you know, people in India wanted to take a picture with me, and I was trying to, you know, tackle this strange habit or like wish to take a picture with me to actually do exactly the same thing with them. So I'm really confused. But I was like, oh, I want to take a picture with you as well. Like, oh, it's so beautiful, you know. And they were like, you know, like they were super keen and very happy about it. But, you know, I was just like, you know, like it's not meant to be about the ethnicity and you know, but still it's I became all of a sudden like a part of this minority, and I feel like, you know, being here in Hong Kong, obviously there is a lot of expats, and I keep staring on all of the Caucasians like, what are you doing here? But yeah, I feel like it's very interesting how it kind of like blended and how it kind of for me. So I was wondering, like, how was your you know, experience with like coming from Nepal then to Hong Kong and facing completely different diversity, and then different diversity in Wales? How do you think that, you know, it differentiated from each other?
Okay, so I would say that it was almost easy to get used to everyone here. So by this point in my life, I don't really see race anymore. I kind of just, if you're interesting to me, which not that many people are, I feel like I'm growing so much where I feel like I only am interested with like certain small group. Where if it's like, if they're doing something cool, if they're an artist especially, like that's when I just start talking to them. It doesn't really matter where they might be from or what they might look like. I'm at a point where I just talk to anyone. It was harder when I was younger because I was already such a shy person. Like approaching someone completely new was difficult then. So in Hong Kong specifically, I felt like I didn't really approach that many people. I would wait for people to approach me, and that would sometimes happen, sometimes it wouldn't happen. I just kind of, it was more of a personal thing though. I wouldn't say it was a racial thing then. It was just, I didn't know how to start conversations. I didn't know how to interact with people then. It just was so in my own ways, yeah. But I think it did get accentuated with the fact that I didn't know the language as well. So with some people, I literally couldn't talk to them, even if I might have had the guts to. Yeah. But now I feel like I just attract artists, and I just want to attract artists forever. Like I just want to be surrounded by that sort of a community. Just like, oh, so what next project are you doing? It's like, yeah. Exactly. Let's be friends. Yeah.
No, same. Because I was very lucky to get a job immediately, like during our 21 days in quarantine. But yeah, that's exactly what I needed. Just kind of like come back in touch with minds, really. So I was wondering, are you planning to come back to Hong Kong eventually?
I will be coming back this summer, but I think I might stay in the UK for a little bit longer because I get to extend my visa. So that's what I'm thinking, like to get more experience here. I don't really know where life will take me, but I'm gonna plan and go everywhere and see like what the next few steps are.
Oh yeah, 100%. Please let me know when you'll be back. So we
Okay,
can
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, we can go for a drink or something, you know? Yeah.
Or two.
Yeah, okay. Yes, of course. More the merrier.
Absolutely. You know, coming from UK where the drinking culture is so big, Hong Kong is bigger. But
like to drink. Yeah. So Tom, I actually want to know more about you as well. Like, I know this is it's an interview about me, but so how did you end up in Hong Kong? You just went there and started doing a job? That is so interesting to me. Because it's so like ballsy. I could never have the guts to do that.
It's actually a little bit more simple than that. I wish it would be as fancy as it sounds. So basically, I come from Czech Republic originally, from Prague, and then I kind of met this guy, Jewish, and we had this kind of like a long distance relationship. So I was finishing my uni. Having basically 3 jobs on the side to be able to actually save on all of the flight tickets. Kind of like saved money for, just to London, Prague. And then once when I got accepted for my master's in Loughborough, that was the time when we kind of moved together.
Okay.
That's why I was in London for about 4 years, I think. Just kind of like testing my waters and everything. And once when I was done with my course, I struggled a lot to get a job after my uni. I don't want to scare you. It's not a rule. Maybe I wasn't just really lucky. And we kind of moved from London to St Albans in Hertfordshire. And I started working in an art community in local film and gallery, and then I bumped into this incredible lady who was starting a new startup with like a local gallery in there. And my kind of like a job was to kind of find local artists and give them opportunities, to exhibit their work, and making sure that they're being heard, they're being seen, that they organize workshops, talks within us, and just kind of like educate the local community, especially when it comes to like diversity. So that the art is accessible, it's nothing premium, nothing exclusive. So that was kind of the idea that I was trying to tackle. But then we got engaged, me and my partner. We were planning a wedding, but obviously came, so we had to cancel our wedding twice. There was this option to move to Hong Kong. He is exactly the opposite than me. He works in a bank. So he was kind of offered to move his team into Hong Kong. Like, wow, we are so proud with like the English language that there is a cultural change. So we were like, okay, we should do it. And the thing, even though when we cancelled our weddings twice, we were just like, you know what, let's just get married. Let's just go to registry office. Let's just do it so we can get the visa. It was a little bit heartbreaking because neither of our families could have been there. Because of COVID, but we're like, you know what, like one day we're gonna do it. Maybe we're gonna have that big white chunky thing. But we were just so exhausted from everything that we were just so happy to kind of like move on with our lives. And
Aww, that's an amazing story. You're like actually living my dream, going from a place to another and just working with creatives. That's like perfect.
I mean, it wasn't perfect. I would never think of, that I would eventually have the capacity to do that because I'm actually quite shy. I was always trying to make sure that, when I slipped into your DMs that I'm not going to sound as a complete creep.
You didn't at all. Not even a little bit. I was like, oh, this just seems so interesting. That was literally my only thought. I was like, whoa.
I'm so glad that you saw it that way. But yeah, I feel like we should do like a round 2, especially if we can come in summer. I would love to pick this up and make sure that we can kind of do like a nice continuation of this beautiful story of yours. So so you will have to stay in quarantine for 2 weeks, is that correct?
Yeah, so do you mean when I come to the Hong Kong?
Yes.
Yeah, so at the moment, I think I'm gonna be coming immediately after I finish my last assignments at uni. So I'm thinking that's like summer-ish time, but even earlier. May, June is probably when I'm, yeah. And then I'll probably have to quarantine, yes, yeah. But that's like the time frame that I'm considering at the moment, yeah. May, June, July. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, if you wouldn't mind, please keep me posted. I would
Yes,
love to meet you in person.
yeah,
And
I would too, yeah. Yeah, you have like a personal account actually.
yes, it's at Alex is Polka-dotted.
Okay, let me get. So Alex, what's your last name?
It's Alex Edwards.
Edwards.
I still can't get used to it, to be honest. It's actually meant to be Welsh.
Oh, okay. I got this. Is this one, no?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. I'll keep in touch with you for sure. Yeah.
Nice. That would be amazing. Yeah. And again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And yeah, keep me posted with your work. If there is anything that maybe I can help with or be a mentor for.
Thank you so much for having me. Like, honestly, this was such a fun chat. I love talking to you. It was so great.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll make sure that I will send you everything. And we can edit it together and make sure that just wanted to make sure. Is that okay? Maybe if I would use some of your pictures?
Yes, of course. You're welcome to anything. Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. That works well. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much again. And
no worries, that's okay.
To see you June, July.
Yes, we will. We'll go for that 2 drinks. Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, bye.